Welcome everyone to Arts Alive here at Bristol Community College, where we do our taping in this terrific facility. And it's my pleasure today to have Catherine McLaughlin on with me as a guest. She has taught at UMass Dartmouth. She is a writer. This is her book, Blue Collars, and of course, that refers to blue-collar workers.
Yes.
So welcome, Catherine.
Thank you.
And this
Thank
is
you for having me.
my pleasure. And this is a little bit set on your family, the Kilroys, the Kilroy
yes.
family, the
Yes.
Irish family in New Bedford.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities, particularly in the beginning of the book. I grew up in a tenement that didn't have hot water or a phone or anything like that.
Right.
And
A totally different way of life.
totally
From
different
today,
way
yeah.
of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about how you got started on this track of wanting to write, wanting to sort of hold these people, that, as we were saying before the show started, these blue-collar workers, much of which is going away, like
Yes.
so many jobs in
Yes.
this country. Why did you want to sort of hold them up to be, as an example, I guess, of...
It was an example. I wanted to show life as it was for me growing up, which was so completely different from the lives of my own children growing up. The context had completely changed.
Changed, yeah.
You know, and when the mills shut down and textiles moved south, you had thousands of workers out of work and nowhere to go, and the city went into a terrible depression after that.
Yeah, Fall River did too.
Yeah.
At that time, I mean, the whole area was pretty much dependent on that industry,
That's
that
right.
textile industry, and
That's right.
and now, of course, as we were also saying before the show opened, it's now moved on to the Far East,
That's
pretty
right.
much for its is where
Manufacture,
it
yeah.
flourishes now. There,
Right.
you know, with our clothing,
Right.
yeah, and shoes and everything.
Right. And the Water Street, South Water Street, used to be a bustling area with a variety of stores that were very convenient to all these mill workers. They could just walk a few blocks away and they were there, and nothing exists now. There used to be 2 theaters, and I think the facade of one of the theaters is left from the
That's
Orpheum.
right, way down the Orpheum, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes,
way
but
down
everything
that,
else is more or less rubble. There was no foresight to build that area up again after it was kind of trashed.
You really wonder about that the lack of foresight when these things are sort of happening around and there isn't an awareness of, well, what's next?
Exactly.
What are we going to
There's
do
no
next
vision.
with all this?
No vision for that area.
That's too bad, because it is a nice area. I went on a tour of that theater actually years ago.
Is that
It was
right?
a little scary in there, yeah. It was very, was no electricity. It was all, I think, as I remember it, pretty much flashlights and that, but it was at a time when they were really trying to restore it, and it's a
Right.
mammoth job to do that.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
As you see with the Citarium,
Yes.
which is done very well.
They did a beautiful job.
Yeah,
with
they
the-
did a beautiful job,
Yeah.
they did. So why don't you tell us what goes on in this family?
Okay, so the Kilroys are, I would say, typical.
Yeah,
The father works at the Berkshire Hathaway. The mother stays at
that was
home.
that was a Warren Hathaway.
A Warren Buffett place.
Originally,
Yeah, originally.
eventually rather a Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah. And there are 5 children, and you can imagine in a tenement with 7 people in one bathroom and no hot water, it gets a little difficult. But I wanted to illustrate the fact that despite these drawbacks, what you would certainly see today as drawbacks, we never recognized them as drawbacks. We didn't know anything else.
Right.
We didn't consider ourselves poor. So the Kilroy family kind of reflects the daily living, the lives of these people who made do with what they had and had a good time doing it most of the time.
Right, yeah. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of
at the
fun.
time, yeah.
They had access to the beach, access to ice skating at the Poor Farm,
Buttonwood Park.
Buttonwood
Would
Park,
have been around, yeah.
the Royal and the Orpheum theaters. Everything was there for us and for the Kilroy family. They could go to Lincoln Park, which was usually
Bus shuttle out there.
Once a summer.
Right.
We'd
yeah.
all go to Lincoln Park and the drive-in theater on Route 6. But that's all gone now. And I wanted to recreate the spirit of the time
Yep. You're a shining example of having come through this blue-collar home life, shall we say, and gone on. Tell us a little bit about your background, your education, and so forth.
I got my Bachelor of Arts in English from UMass Dartmouth. I went from there to University College Dublin in Ireland and got a master's in Anglo-Irish Studies. I came home, I taught for 4 years at UMass Dartmouth, and then went to Bowling Green, Ohio,
Really?
State University, for my Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing.
Oh, nice.
And I came back from there, worked as an editor for a couple of years, and finally landed what I always wanted to do, which was teach. So I got a teaching job at Framingham State University.
And that was in English, obviously,
That
or
was in
creative
English,
writing, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So I worked there for 33 years. I retired 4 years ago.
And this must have been a dream,
It was.
the book? Yeah.
It was a
How
dream.
long was that ruminating around in your mind?
9 years.
Wow, it's a long time.
Yeah, it took 9 years from start to publication. In the meantime, though, I've written 3 other novels,
Oh,
which
really?
I hope one day to publish.
Yeah, well, this may be the start. You know,
I hope so.
ironically, that sometimes happens with
Yes.
people. That it isn't the very first book they write, but that comes along sort of later to be published.
Right.
Once they have one out there, so to speak. Yeah. Well, I think it's a great story, and I think
Thank you.
this is having lived through this myself. These blue collar workers. That's certainly what my family was. I most appreciate, you know, the storytelling and how important it is for some of the young generation to realize what others went through to sort of make it easier for them
Sure.
to get where they are.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, your children today are in a much better situation than
They are,
you were
sure.
growing up. What do they do? Just as a sort of a segue to, you know, as it goes
Sure.
on, yeah, the family.
My daughter finished her MFA at Syracuse, and she'll be teaching at the Wharton School in Pennsylvania.
that's
at
wonderful, yeah.
Philadelphia. And my son works for a pharmaceutical company, and he does photography on the side
Oh, very nice.
in New Jersey.
So yeah, in New Jersey. So that's a lot. That's a big step
Huge.
from where it started. Exactly, huge.
Huge.
Yeah, yeah.
In my day, families lived together, you know, relatives, and
Oh,
everybody
I know.
was close.
My grand lived with us until she died when I was 18. My mother's mother. Yeah. So it was a very homogeneous family in
Yes.
those days. Yeah. And so you
Everybody was
understood and you learned a lot about your elders,
Oh, you certainly
which
did.
isn't necessarily true anymore either.
And we lived in a very diverse area.
Area. Yeah.
We had a lot of immigrants, Portuguese immigrants, Hispanics,
Cape Verdeans then
Cape
too.
Verdean,
Yeah.
Irish, English,
French.
you know, French, and
Wow.
African American. So
Exactly, just as Fall River, which is where I grew up, did, and you know, I think it makes for a very interesting life.
oh, it does.
Yeah,
It does.
I wouldn't want it to be just a
Right.
monolithic type of thing.
Right. I'm hoping for a broader audience. I'd like it to go further than New Bedford area.
Oh, I agree, because this is, no matter where you lived at that time, that's how it was. I think pretty
Yeah,
much.
I think it's very much a universal
Wouldn't have mattered.
story.
It is a universal story. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And who knows? I mean, it might make it to a film if somebody saw it and liked the theme. And
That'd be wonderful.
well, of course it would be. Yeah. But anything is a possibility, and
Yes.
why not put it out there for that?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Right.
get your people working on it.
I will.
And let's see what can be done. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I wish you
you
the
for having
greatest
me.
of success. It's my pleasure. back, everyone, to Arts Alive, and it's my pleasure now to introduce David Grannum. I'm sure that many of you have seen David perform in the area. He is an absolutely fabulous dancer.
Thank you.
And has had some very good publicity, particularly in the Fall River Herald News, about his dance. And he is going out, lucky man that he is, out to the University of Southern California, starting in, I guess, in August next
August
month,
13th
right?
is when I
the
leave.
13th, wow.
It's 2
Not,
weeks.
it's just 2 weeks, yeah. Well, it's going to be a great experience for you, David. Tell us how you came to pick that. And I must, of course, mention he's a graduate this year, 2018, from Deerfield High School. So tell us why you picked USC.
So I never once thought I wanted to be like a director until I met my mentors, Mary Beth Buglio and Sharon Pupilo, in middle school in 7th grade. And by that point, I already have been dancing for 2 years. And I was like, that was it. I'm going to be a dancer. I'm going to be in a dance company. I was very much on that track. And dancers, to be like a ballet dancer, to be in a ballet company, you don't go to college, you don't go to university, and you just focus on your craft and dance. And that's what I was going to do up until around my sophomore, junior year. And I was planning to move out to Florida and start working on my training. And then things didn't work out. That path was not, the doors weren't opening as much as other paths were, such as filming and directing. And I kept creating though. I kept making videos. To me, it was just for fun. And then I was like, I really need to focus on what I'm doing for my future. And I looked up the top 25 best film schools, and USC was the top one. I'm like, I'm going to apply there, hope for the best.
Well, congratulations, yeah.
And so that's where that came about. And that's what I knew. I knew that USC had the best film school, and then after that I just started falling in love with the better things that they had, the people, the organizations, and the connections. It's such a well-rounded school.
Now, do they train also there for choreography? If you wanted to become a choreographer?
Yes.
And that
was another big sell. I knew I wanted to go to an art school, but I knew I also had so many other interests and so many other different parts of life other than just dancing and filming. I'm so amazed, and I love the Spanish culture, the Hispanic culture. I love working with like the homeless or the community service projects, stuff like that. It's so I needed outlets other than just the art school, and I love that about USC. They have the medical school, the law school, the business school. There's so many other things that you can do and things you can incorporate into your art and your craft. So I like that about it. It was a large school where I can do, the possibilities are endless.
And how did you get involved in dance?
I'm pretty sure I came out dancing. I've always danced. And I started taking hip hop classes when I was about 8, and that just didn't work out. And I still continue to dance. But then one day I was being a little troublemaker in an after school program, and so they sent me to another room. And
you were dancing in there.
Yeah, and in that room was there were a few special needs students, and they were taking dance classes. And I was like, oh, I'm a dancer, I can dance. And then the teacher who was teaching that class knew the director of the dance studio I attend now, On Stage Academy of Performing Arts, and she said, you're a little more flexible than most guys. I was like, have you ever just thought of doing ballet or jazz? And I was like, no. And then she's like, well, I have a friend. And so I went up to the director and I was like, listen, I don't know about this whole ballet thing, and she's like, you're gonna love it. And I did.
Yeah.
I fell in love, and that's how that started. I was around 6th grade, I was 12.
So you did all of Linda's recitals, and yeah.
And then from there she saw something, and she helped me out immensely with I traveled to Providence, then to Boston, then to New York, and she kept making sure that I was getting the experiences and the training that I needed, because I told her my goal was to become a ballet dancer. And she was like, I'm going to try and help you make that happen.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's Linda Mirza-Patello.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful woman.
Yes.
And very good dancer and dance teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very great life coach. She's taught me so much.
Well, isn't that so important, really, you know? And tell us a little bit more about your mentors, your two mentors from...
Yeah, so I met my two mentors at Cuss Middle School. The one is a English teacher in 7th grade, and I had her for English and then for video production. And she was just she saw something, I guess, too. She saw that there was, I just always was so eager to do something, to do a project, and if she needed something done, I was always that first student to raise my hand and do it. And
Volunteer, right?
Yeah, volunteering. And
Nice,
she saw that and she noticed that. And she and her wife, Mary Beth Boulevio, they like worked through it. And they were like, let's take him under our wing almost. And so 7th grade turned into 8th grade, turned into 9th grade, where I wasn't even their student anymore, but I was going over their house, working on projects. And
Great.
then junior year came around, I'm like, USC, I think is the place to go. And they're like, we're going to take you there. And so they took me on my first visit to LA and to go visit the school. And that's when I fell in love. They were very, very, very supportive. And I thank them for everything, because they were just, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have never seen the school. And
Made
so,
that choice,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
they were
we got
that
to dream
connecting
high.
piece.
You know,
Yeah.
you have to dream high, and that's what people like that can do for someone,
Exactly.
for a young person. Yeah.
I'm so glad, and I see the things that they've done in my life, and it always makes me see like someone that's younger than me having like similar dreams and aspirations, and I always have to tell them like it is so possible. You just have to do it, have to go for it, and they always were that reassurance that you can do it. When I was in my own head and like, this is insane, I can't get into the top film school. That's insane. Like,
Well, you
I'm
see
from
that
Fall
you
River.
yeah. Well, that doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You did. I mean, we have
Exactly.
some people who've done. I was mentioning just before we started taping, Arthur Faria,
Yeah.
who years ago danced locally. Was involved in the little theater group here too. Went on to New York, did some wonderful things there, both in shows. I believe, but I'm not positive, he was in the original Chorus Line.
Okay, wow.
On Broadway, and he then choreographed several, at least several very big shows. He might have won a Tony for his choreography, but you should, I think he lives now in the French, might be in the French West Indies.
Oh, okay, wow, nice.
But he had
nice.
he had a wonderful life through the field of dance. So it's something that you can emulate that too, that
foundation.
person. Yeah, exactly.
It was interesting. So I had to go to USC 2 times actually. So one, well, not had to, but the first time I visited to tour and look at the school. Then after getting accepted, I had to go and interview for the scholarship to see if I was eligible. And my interviewer, one of the interviewers was like the chief editor, was the head of like the chief editing, and she was a dancer. She was a past dancer, and that was something we connected on right away.
Sure.
Which is like, yeah, just that foundation, that mindset, that way of attacking certain certain experiences. You know what I mean? Like, just
Well,
like
it's a
you
connect.
go,
It's
like,
a connect.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
like,
you both
there's-
love
yeah.
dance, and now she's moved on to editing as well as
Exactly.
dance. And
There's a
you may
mindset,
move
there's- yeah.
somewhere else too, as well as
Exactly.
dance. And sure, yeah, but that
Those
connect is
fundamentals.
great. Yeah, I mean, even to me, even the fact that people come and do very well coming out of a New Bedford or a Fall River, you know, this area. I mean, there's a connect there.
Yeah.
Immediately
definitely.
when you can say, well, you know, I'm from Fall River, and you know that person is. And as I said, we have some people who've done very, very well. Another name is Wrightsies, who's done very well in audio editing, I believe, is what he's in in LA.
Yeah.
Done very, very well in that. His family owned the Fall River Knitting Mills years
wow.
ago. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So he's also in the LA area, and then
I'm hearing of more and more people that have gone
more
out
and
to the
more.
West Coast.
Well,
yeah.
somebody else that won a Tony Award too for LA Confidential, the movie. It's a very, very popular movie at that time. The man who wrote the script for it is an Academy Award winner for that. He's from New Bedford.
Wow.
So you just don't, Brian Helgeland, his name is.
Wow,
You don't
that's
know.
nice.
You know,
just
you don't know who's
yeah.
out there that you might look up.
It's just taking that. Yeah. That's
You know, and
interesting.
say
That's awesome.
hi.
Yeah, I'm from around.
I'm from your area. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So what's your plan once you get there?
So I leave August 13th, and I asked the interviewers when I was interviewing for the scholarship. I said, what is there for me to do during the summer to make sure I'm prepared for the school year? And they said, just consume and create, and consume like as in the old movies and the classics and
Right.
what is important and what's integral in the film industry. And then to create, just to always keep a fresh mind, and that's what I've been doing. I've just been creating. I just recently worked on a music video, and that should be coming out soon. But
Wonderful.
yeah. So.
And you were in ragtime.
And I was in
Did some
ragtime.
dances
staying,
and
yep.
dancing in ragtime for
I
Little
was in
Theater.
ragtime, yep. And I just finished up the year on stage. I graduated from On Stage Academy of Performing Arts, and it really is just important this summer for me to just keep my mind like open.
Open.
Yeah. Just so I can go there with a nice mindset and ready to
Here I
start
am.
my journey.
Here
yeah.
I am, world.
Exactly.
And we're going to be hearing more from you, David. I'm sure of
hope
that.
so. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Maybe
Thank
we
you for
can do
having me.
something by Skype.
Yes.
Maybe we can try to do a Skype
3
piece
hours.
with you. Yeah.
The delay.
And your season will be from basically September through May.
Yeah.
And are you
yeah.
planning to come back, or are you planning to
yes.
stay there?
So during Christmas, I'll probably come back and visit, and then for spring break, I'm hoping I can stay out there and like create and work around that. And then
Right.
in the summer, my plan right now is to come home, but I'm also
Gotta see what's open out there. Right,
Because
yeah.
I am, like I said, I'm very interested in Hispanic culture, and my a goal is to study abroad. And so whether that be during the
Beautiful.
summer or
Yeah.
during the school year, so.
Spain?
Definitely.
Are you looking at Spain?
So my sister, she goes to Suffolk University in Boston. She just studied abroad in Spain for
Nice.
about 6 months, and I visited her in Spain. So I like Spain, but I think I'm more leaning toward Latin American countries.
Oh, really?
I think because,
Brazil?
yeah, well, yeah, somewhere like that, yeah. I'm very interested.
Brazil is beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful place, and you know, a country that's really on the move. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having
And
me.
I'll be looking for your name, and I know I'm going to see it in lights from
so.
Fall River.
I'm far away.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you'll join us again. This is a program that will be airing in August.